Hello everyone, Gerardo here. Welcome back. Welcome in. In this video, we're going to be talking about PulseChain and specifically the PLS versus ETH, BTC, and HEX pairs, as well as the respective, Gwei, Satoshi, and Heart pairs. So leave a thumbs up if you like this kind of PulseChain content, and let's just go ahead and get right into it. The other day, if you follow on Twitter, twitter.com/LookIntoHex, then you see that we updated the website with some new charts. Now, specifically, if you go to LookIntoHex.com, you scroll down to the bottom, and these are the two newest charts we have. So all the sacrifice stuff has been moved over to the LookIntoHex.com/sacrifice, whereas it's /PLS for the most recent one. So I won't go over the sacrifice one because we've covered this in depth. I mean, I've done my best at explaining this as I can. So leave your comments if you still need more clarity and clarification on these charts. But let's go ahead and talk about the new ones because I think these are really interesting. I haven't seen anyone else plot these. So we have our PLS pairs. What do I mean by that? Well, we can kind of visualize now I don't want to call it price, okay? Let's call it a rate. And the reason I'm saying that is because there is no legitimate market for PLS yet. Like PLS doesn't even exist yet. So there is no market. It doesn't have a price technically, but we can kind of speculate on the value of it with certain mathematical ratios, right? So we can speculate as to what value a PLS has. The way we do that is with our bonding curve. Very, very simple. You just divide the $1 to $2 bonding curve, which we all know, just divided by 10,000 because it gets you 10,000 points, which are going to be equivalent to a PLS potentially in the future. So at that rate, you pretty much have this curve, which begins flat for the first 5 days at 0.0001, and then it curves up and has a 2x over the course of 19 days. Pretty simple. We already know this chart. It's we've already known this chart for a while. Now, this one's pretty interesting. I like this one because it pretty much tells you how these pairs have been performing. And these pairs specifically, I'm talking about PLS USD, which again, it's our clear deterministic curve. However, we also have PLS BTC, PLS ETH, and PLS HEX. Now, we'll get back to this one in a second, but let's look at each one individually. So this is pretty simple. All you have to do to get this chart is divide the price, right, the PLS USD rate, by the HEX USD rate to see which one outperforms the other. So these aren't to be confused. These charts are not to be confused with like a HEX versus ETH ROI type chart, right? Those are different. Those are ROI from launch. These are not. These charts on this page, LookIntoHex.com/PLS, are more akin to something like a ETH BTC valuation you might see on TradingView, where you're really just tracking the value of one versus the value of another. You're not aligning them by launch or anything like that. You're simply looking at real time. What's the price of one of these coins divided by the price of another coin? So you're looking at a pair valuation. So this is your PLS HEX valuation. And the only reason it's the same shape whether you use HEX or hearts. It's the same shape. The only difference being these units, right? So if this were PLS per HEX, this shape of this curve would look exactly the same. Only difference would be all of these numbers would be divided by 100 million, right? 10 to the 8th. So I thought it was fun to look at it in these smaller units because you get more of them. And so you can see that PLS started at a rate of approximately 72,000 pulse in a heart. Came down to about 60,000. We had our low on day 2, which was the best time to quote unquote buy, right? The best time to sacrifice if you were sacrificing HEX because you were getting your future PLS potentially at a rate of about 60,000 of them per heart. So now we've seen a clear uptrend since then, and we've pretty much reached the 77,000 pulse per heart, or pulses per heart. This is gonna be fun. But that's that chart where you see that, you know, Pulse did underperform a little bit, and now it seems to be overperforming. It's funny seeing it versus Gwei, right? The unit of Ether. And again, same thing applies. The PLS ETH ratio would look exactly the same as this, except with these numbers divided by a billion, right? 10 to the ninth, because there are a billion Gwei in one Ether. And I have all of these conversions at the very top, by the way. So if you're not familiar, these are the conversion units. For BTC and HEX, it's the same, 100 million. With ETH, it's a billion. So it's a 10x difference. And so you have this shape where Pulse has clearly been outperforming Ether or Gwei on this chart, starting at about 51 Gwei per pulse, and now currently sitting at about 57, 58 Gwei per pulse. Same with Satoshis. This is your Pulse BTC valuation. Started at about 0.3 Satoshis, and now we're about 0.35. So it's pretty crazy to think that one Pulse isn't even worth one Satoshi. And again, I'm going to give you this disclaimer just one more time that these aren't really prices, because you can't sell something that doesn't exist yet. You don't have a Pulse that you can redeem for US dollars or ETH or BTC or HEX. We're simply speculating on what the current value of a Pulse might look like. This is all speculation. These are all analogies. These are more so just kind of abstract rates, right? Because I'll just repeat it a third time. You can't sell your Pulse. It doesn't exist yet. But you can see these charts for yourself on LookIntoHex.com/PLS. These are the new charts. I like them. I think they're cool. And just to touch on this one a little more, it plots all of these together, but all normalized to day one of sacrifice. So you can see which coin PLS has been outperforming the most. And it seems to be like it's been outperforming Bitcoin the most, and then HEX and Ether are very, very close right here. But for the most part, Pulse has been outperforming. See, I wanna hesitate before saying outperforming, because these aren't prices. But let's just continue with this, because I'm sure you guys understand. It seems to be that, not seems to be, Pulse is getting more difficult to get with this bonding curve, and it'd be pretty interesting to see what these curves come out to be at the end. Right? I think it'll be interesting. So that's all I really wanted to share with you on the new charts. And another fun fact I wanted to share with you guys, I don't think anyone's talking about this. And I mentioned this in a previous video, but things have changed, so I want to update you guys. If you look at the sacrifice address on the Ethereum network, then you see that it has about $565 million sitting in it, of which the majority of that is HEX. How much specifically? Well, about $400 million worth, which almost, at this point in time, is almost 2.9 billion HEX, quickly approaching the 3 billion mark. Now, why is that important? Other than the fact that it's a supply sink, well, if you look at the top holders for HEX, look at number 2. Doesn't that address look familiar? Doesn't this 2.895 billion number look familiar? It's the sacrifice address, and it's currently sitting at the top 2 holder of HEX, hands down, right? The sacrifice address now holds more HEX than any other wallet except for this top wallet. And we're quickly approaching, because this top wallet only holds 3.05 billion HEX only, right? But this sacrifice addy holds, 2.9 billion. So we're looking at the fact that the sacrifice address could be the top holder of HEX in all of the Ethereum ecosystem very, very soon, right? We just need to see another 160 million HEX enter, about 22 million bucks. So that'll be interesting to watch. I mean, we still have 10 whole days until the sacrifice phase is over, meaning we're like halfway-ish done, about halfway done. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all, in the least, to see this address flip the top holder. So I just thought that was very, very interesting, the fact that this is a pretty big supply sink. And if you subscribe to the idea that none of these HEX will be sold, then it's bullish. And if you subscribe to the idea that there's actually less circulating supply than what is thought to be circulating because of something like VOA holding a large percentage of the coins, well then the supply sink is even bigger than some people might think. So bullish signs all around. We touched on the liquidity spike for HEX in yesterday's video. Check that out if you haven't already. So I just see bullish signs after bullish signs, and that's what I wanted to cover here. So if you like this kind of PulseChain content, definitely leave a thumbs up. Go follow LookIntoHex on Twitter. I know a lot of you guys are, but maybe some of you guys don't know that we do have a whole Twitter account for the LookIntoHex.com website brand. And yeah, go ahead and follow on there, as well as my personal Twitter. My personal Twitter at Gerardo. Have fun trying to spell that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't by now. Let's get to 4,000 subs. We're killing it, so I really do appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to try to bang out more videos than usual this upcoming week. No promises, right? No promises. Definitely the one a day like we're used to, but maybe a little more I think would be fun. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But I won't take too much more of your time, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.